if the trial hadn't dragged on for a year. A year ago, the legacy of the U.S. security firm Blackwater shooting dead 14 civilians in a Baghdad square was still very much alive. It led Iraq to ban the company and put strict controls on private security firms. When it came time to negotiate a new security agreement with the U.S., it made sure to insist that the immunity they always had be dropped. Post-traumatic stress disorder isn't widely understood here. Most of the country probably suffers from it. Fitzsimon's lawyer says the court decided that while his client was mentally competent, the horrors he'd seen as a British soldier in Kosovo had left him deeply troubled.
Danny
is sick. He has lots of illnesses. If you read the medical report, the British medical reports, and the reports from the medical committee, says he has been exposed to very ugly scenes in Kosovo. This illness makes the one who has it feel like everyone else is his enemy, and the slightest provocation will have dangerous consequences.
And then there was the drinking. He drank a liter of scotch when he opened fire on his colleagues. There are still tens of thousands of private security contractors in Iraq. For most of the war, they were immune from being prosecuted here. But now Iraq has responsibility for its own security. And with this ruling, they've made clear they will administer their own justice as well. Jane Araf, AlJazeera, Baghdad.
They filled Tahrir Square, urging him to go. Now Egypt's top prosecutor says Hosni Mubarak isn't going anywhere. The former president has been banned from travel and his assets seized. We'll have all the details coming up. And later, saying no to a unity government, Yemen's opposition turns down an offer from the president.
Hello again. It's still very cold for many of us in the northern parts of Asia. The winds are still coming down from the north, dragging in that fresher air. We've got a lot of cloud, a few outbreaks of snow, but it's mostly just going to be the temperature you'll really notice as we head through Wednesday. A top temperature in Tokyo this time just of 8 degrees. Now, if we see any wintry weather, that's likely to be along the western coast of Japan here further east. There's a better chance of a dry day and maybe a little bit of sunshine coming through as well. Now, some of that cold weather is filtering further south as well. So Shanghai will have a fresher day, no higher than 8 degrees here. For Hong Kong, for the time being, it's actually quite warm. We'll get to around 25 degrees, that's 77 in Fahrenheit. But I think for Wednesday, we won't get above 19. A bit further south, and we've seen torrential downpours in the southern parts of the Philippines. That area of wet weather is now pushing a little bit further northwards. So the southeast, where we saw the worst of the rains, it will be a lot drier here for Tuesday, just more isolated showers to deal with here. Java, though, that's still going to be very wet, even Jakarta. For Australia, the wettest weather here is still in the far north. We've got one area of low pressure there across the Northern Territory and another one over Western Australia. Lots of rain pushing its way further southwards as we head through Wednesday. Heavy downpours here.
It is in the details. A look. A connection. The moments that reveal the truth. Award-winning documentaries from critically acclaimed filmmakers. Witness documentaries to open your eyes on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. The top stories in Al Jazeera.
Guide, it is guide, not my people. It is guide. Guide, yes.
Libya's Muammar Gaddafi tells America's ABC network that Al-Qaeda is to blame for the unrest sweeping the country. Libya's Air Force has reportedly bombed an ammunition dump held by opposition forces in the city of Ajdaber, and there are reports several people are dead in the capital, Tripoli, after forces loyal to Gaddafi opened fire on protesters. The European Union has approved wide-ranging sanctions on Libya, including an arms embargo, a visa ban and a freeze on assets. Meanwhile, China and Russia have backed calls for the Libyan leader to face prosecution for crimes against humanity. Egypt's public prosecutor has issued a travel ban on former President Hosni Mubarak and his family. Their financial assets have also been frozen. Mubarak has not been heard from since he stepped down last month. Ayman Mohedin has more.
Forced out of office and now in the crosshairs of Egypt's prosecutor general. On Monday, former President Hosni Mubarak and his family were banned from traveling abroad and all of their financial assets and property in Egypt frozen pending further investigation. Mubarak and his family had reportedly accumulated billions of dollars in wealth during their 30 years in power in both domestic and foreign assets. The president's two sons, Ala and Gamal, were widely believed to have exploited their family ties for personal financial gains. Holding Mubarak and his former regime accountable is important if Egypt is to make a break from its past.
I think it's a very positive decision, one of the demands of the revolution, which pushes it forward and reassures the people to a great extent, especially these investigations in corruption.
Shortly after Mubarak left office, Egypt's foreign ministry requested foreign governments and financial institutions to freeze all foreign assets belonging to Mubarak's family. The travel ban and freeze is being imposed nearly 3 weeks after Mubarak stepped down, leaving some to question the prosecutor's intentions.
This is a positive step, but very late. It should have been taken when the prosecutor issued his decision to freeze Mubarak's assets abroad, and even before then, because it has given Mubarak time to smuggle his assets out of the country.
Mubarak is the most senior official of the previous regime, who is now under investigation for illegal activity. Similar travel bans and investigations have been launched into several top officials that served under Mubarak. And on Monday, indictments were filed against former ministers who are now set to go on trial in early March. Holding former regime officials accountable was one of the main demands of Egypt's revolutionary movement, saying the current leadership of the country must cut all ties with the past by sending a strong signal it will prosecute Mubarak's alleged wrongdoings. While many will see this as a positive step in the right direction, others will say it's too little too late, and that the delay in issuing such a freeze will merely have allowed the Mubarak family even more opportunity to hide any ill-gotten gains. Ayman Mohedin, AlJazeera, Cairo.
A heavy military presence is back on the streets of the Tunisian capital a day after the Prime Minister bowed out following a wave of deadly protests. 2 ministers have now also resigned from the caretaker government. A third day of unrest in the Gulf nation of Oman has seen more protests in the northern coastal city of Sohar. A supermarket was set ablaze and protesters blocked roads to 2 of the country's main export ports on Monday. As many as 6 people died during clashes with police. Demonstrators are demanding economic and political reform. In Bahrain, protesters have blockaded parliament in an attempt to increase pressure for government reform. Bahrain's Crown Prince Salman said on Monday that efforts were underway to launch talks with the opposition.